Town Council said no to extending the emergency mask ordinance. Today, I talked one-on-one with Councilman Gary Santos for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. I'm Pleasant Councilman Gary Santos. Welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you, Quintin. Nice to be here. Always a pleasure.
Oh, I appreciate it greatly. Let me jump into it. You know the controversy is going on right now with the mask ordinance.
Right.
And I know after the extension for face mask ordinance, that is, was struck down 5-4 last week, the mayor of Mount Pleasant says, quote, on Twitter, "We will get this fixed." In a Twitter post, the mayor says this morning, in reaction to town council not reapproving a mask ordinance, I have already heard concerns from both Mount Pleasant hospitals, a local global health consultant, and a research fellow at Oxford, local physicians and nurses, citizens at large. We will get this fixed. Did the mask ordinance lose its support among the town council in your mind?
You know, I think the council members, and I'm not going to put words in their mouth, that voted the way they did. We're watching the press. We're watching the numbers. We're seeing them decline. And I think they did the research. They looked at the data. They talked to the businesses. And I think they made a decision based on what they thought was best for the community and best for the businesses. And that's what I believe happened. And that's what I did. I did my research. I don't just listen to what the mayor or anybody else tells me what to do. I want to do my research. I want to talk, get my data. I want to go out and talk to people. I've talked to stores, managers at stores, asking them about the mask ordinance, and they tell me, we don't care what the town does. We have rules by our home office that we have to have masks, and that's what we're doing. So we're seeing the numbers in the paper today. The numbers are going down still, even after we've done this. Almost a week later, the numbers are still going down. So apparently, what we did was the right thing to do. Now, absolutely, if something happens and it spikes, we can always, change it. But right now, it's not. And according to the paper, it's going down. And so I feel like we made the right decision.
Now, he says this, quote, "We will get it fixed." Will council then just keep voting until the mayor gets what he wants?
It appears that's what he's doing. Yes, absolutely. The governor's mandate is still out there. Our resolution that I put forth that received unanimous approval, even from the mayor, is still in effect. So we still have the things in effect that are going to protect the community. But the mayor is just not happy until he gets his way, and that's what he's trying to do.
Now, what concerns have you heard from the medical field and citizens?
I'll be honest with you, the citizens I've talked to have been very positive. Even coming out of church today, speaking to some folks, they were very thankful for my stand. And I've read it from business people, and I've seen it. So I have gotten support. Certainly there's been other people who send emails in that are really upset. Of course you're going to have it both ways. But the people that I've actually talked to and met with are in support. So certainly if something happens and if something changes, absolutely we can always go back in and do it. But right now, it appears, according to the paper this morning, that things are going down, and that's what we want. We want them to go down. And I think people are being responsible. They're wearing their mask. You see, I got my mask. They're wearing their mask when they go into the stores because the stores are demanding it.
Right.
The managers I'm talking to are saying it doesn't matter what the town does with their ordinance. Our home office says you got to have a mask to come in here. And I think that's fantastic because they want customers to come in. They don't want anybody getting sick in their store. And so they're mandating it themselves. So they're working with us to make sure that they keep it safe for the citizens to be able to shop and to be able to eat and do things like that.
Do you, Gary, by any chance fear that the mask ordinance extension will be reintroduced as a regular ordinance next week, Tuesday?
I think, what I'm understanding, I went and picked up my documents that I usually get on the weekend. I get the agenda, and I usually get the ordinances that are on the agenda. But unfortunately, I didn't get the ordinance, so I don't know what the ordinance is going to be. And unfortunately, tomorrow is a holiday, right. So it'll be Tuesday before I get a copy of the proposed ordinance that he's put on the agenda. So I'm going to have to catch up to speed real quick. What I'm hearing is he's using the ordinance in June that passed, and they may be able to make some changes and may not. But I'm sorry, I wish I could tell you, but I usually use the weekend to study up on this, do my research, get my data.
Right.
But unfortunately, I was not given the ordinance that he plans on moving forward with, so I can't tell you until Tuesday, I guess.
And I know you touched on it a little bit, but where did the mayor find a loophole to bring this mask ordinance back up again?
Well, what happened is usually you have to have somebody on the winning side to put it back on the agenda. But what he's using is he's using the emergency ordinance that we put in place, because one of that meeting that we did it on was an emergency meeting. Apparently, there's a law saying that you can do all kinds of things in that meeting and it doesn't count. So he was able to get a person that was on the losing side with him to put it on the agenda because of that meeting.
Do you know who it is?
My understanding is it's Miss Whitley.
Now, was there a technicality that proposed the extension of the ordinance as an emergency measure?
I don't know that there was a technicality. He can call it at any time. That's one thing that council wants to take a look at right now, is the fact that council ought to be able to call that emergency meeting and not the mayor at any time. And unfortunately, that's the way it's written now. But talking with my fellow council members, we're looking at hopefully changing that to at least have a quorum of council make that decision to call an emergency meeting. The mayor shouldn't be able to call it just whenever he wants.
Now, with that emergency meeting and the emergency measure, and I might be mixing this up a little bit, was this actually done to avoid second readings and other tactics?
I don't think it was done to avoid anything. It very well, listen, I'm not a conspiracy guy, so I'm sorry, I don't think that way. So I trust that is not what happened, but I can't say yes or no, because I really don't think that way. I'm going to be honest. Every time I'm going to do what the citizens ask me to do, so I don't go around thinking whether or not somebody's doing something they shouldn't be doing. I'm hoping that they don't do that, but certainly if they are, they'll be caught. I mean, the powers that be will be out there watching this, and they'll do the investigation to see. But I always see the good in people. I really do. Even the mayor. I mean, if he wanted to sit down over a cup of coffee and talk about issues, I would do it in a minute. I don't have a mean bone in my body. I'm going to stand up for what I believe, and I'm going to stand up for the things that I believe. But I'm not a negative person. I'm a very positive person, and I always like to work things out.
Have you been able to work any issues out with the mayor so far recently?
Well, I have in the past. I mean, we've sat down and talked about issues, and we've been able to do some things. Just recently, matter of fact, just last week, he has an issue that he really wants to do, which is over on Long Point Road, and it has to do with roads, drainage, and stuff. And certainly, I'm laser focused on our waterfront park, our last phase, where we're going to be building basketball courts and dog parks and things like that. And so he wants to take some money from the recreation side and go toward that. And at first I said, absolutely not. I mean, we have to sit down and take a look at it and see if we can trim the budget on that side and do that for you. And so I met with our recreation director. We saw what we thought we needed to make that an outstanding park for our children, the citizens' children, and our citizens. And we were able to cut some funds out of that. So we're going to give the mayor approximately $1 million towards being able to fix that road. So yes, I've always reached out. I always try and work with people. Even though we're disagreeing on this going on, I don't let that stop me business-wise. I continue to do what I need to do for the citizens of the town. So that $1 million that we put toward that the road project will help the citizens over there on Long Point Road, and we will still be able to build a first-class park. So I'm always willing to sit down and talk to people, and the mayor didn't come to that meeting. It was just me and the recreation director sitting down, and then we have to vote on this, but sitting down, seeing what we could do to build a fantastic park, but be able to give some money over to one of the mayor's projects, and that's what we do. So I continue to work with him. I don't hold grudges. I don't let that bother me. I work for the citizens of this town, and I can't let things like this get in the way. We got to remember that we're there to do business, and I'm a businessman, and so I coach football. I won multiple state championships and all. You don't do that by fighting with your assistant coaches or your players. You do it by working as a team to achieve a common goal, which is to benefit whatever it is you're doing, whether it's your town, whether it's your team, whatever. You got to work together, and that's what I'm doing. So I'm still doing things to try and help programs that he would like to do.
Now, with the $1 million going towards the Long Point Road project, How much is left in the budget for you all in your projects?
We have plenty. I don't want to put a figure on it, but we have plenty to do what we need to do. There's a couple of million in there to do it because we have to do a lot of stuff to put the basketball court down and a lot of base things, and we're going to put bathrooms there, and so. But we made sure that we have everything that we need to make that to continue that to be in a first-class park. And so we cut out some of the things that would be nice to have, but we understand that there's an issue over there on Long Point Road. We have citizens over there that are having issues with the trucks and all that, and so we don't want to be selfish. We don't want to build things that are not needed or over at the park just to have it, to have it. And so we cut that budget. I mean, we worked and cut that budget in order to be able to give him that money, so that I say give him the money, put the money toward his project, so that we can get that road done and help our citizens on that side of town, as well as build a first-class park.
Now, is any money in the budget for the folks of Phillips and Snowden communities?
Well, when you say the money in the budget for them, they're not in the town.
Okay.
And so I will tell you this, though. I did start a grant, $25,000, and I went to the Snowden community about fixing that field in their community. And I started a program called Neighborhood Sports, where kids up to 8 years old can play it for their neighborhood. And so they could form teams, and then the recreation department could organize games over there in our leagues, where they have their own home team and all. So we could fix that field up and let those kids play, get them off the streets and let them play. Parents right now have to rush home, get their child rushed to practice. They can come home, get on the bikes, go down to their neighborhood field and practice or play games down there. So yes, I'm working with Snowden on that. I've been working with them for a couple of years with that. I had the counties involved with it. I got them involved. So yeah, I'm doing that. I've been doing that. But you don't really hear about that stuff. You only hear about things if there's an issue. But yeah, we're working on that. We hopefully will get that field built so those folks will be able to, their kids will be able to play in their neighborhood and in first-class recreation program. And
let me get back to the mask ordinance. This might be another difficult question, but what about the majority who agreed with the measure and the technicality that actually changed the outcome of last week's vote?
Right. You got to have a supermajority when it's an emergency meeting.
Okay.
So that's why. In a regular meeting, you could just have 5-4 vote, but you got to have a supermajority when you have, emergency meeting that we had, and they didn't get that.
Now, who exactly put this item on the emergency agenda last week?
I imagine Mayor did.
Since it was a special ordinance to start with, shouldn't it require the same type of ordinance to repeal it?
Yes, I agree, but that's not law. And so what's happened is you're going to have 2 readings now. So Tuesday, when we vote Tuesday, if they win, it still doesn't become law. They still have to vote again because it was done in a regular session. It wasn't an emergency meeting. So it still won't become law until they have second reading, which means they can change it again. For instance, the other ordinance says the kids have to be up to 6 years old. Up to 6 years old doesn't have to wear a mask. They want to change it to 12. And so what they'll do is they'll vote for the ordinance the way it is, and then they will amend the second one to add the 12 instead of the 6, because you can't amend the first one. You can amend the second meeting, but not the first one. So I'm just giving you a for instance. So we can always amend the one on Tuesday, however we want to amend it. It's second reading. But that's just an example of what I'm hearing, is that they'll vote to have it up to 6 years old for the first reading, and then they'll amend it to go up to 12 years old. Now, I mean, that could change, but that's just what I'm hearing because I don't have the ordinance.
Sure, right. And did the ordinance extension, in your mind, I guess, I don't know if it was the first time or the recent one, did it have more votes than it was against?
Yeah, the first one had more for than it was 5-4, I think it was.
Okay.
No, well, maybe not. It's back in June, so
yeah,
a lot has gone on since June. I think me and Kathy Landing may have been the only 2 that voted against it, if I'm not mistaken. But it's just I've been through so many meetings since then. I don't want to put that as gospel.
Sure. Which mask ordinance had more teeth in your mind?
Well, this one that they wanted to do just now did, because they were going to make it a felon. a misdemeanor for trespassing if you got caught. So yeah, this one right here. Well, the other one I think they have proposed now might be a $25 fine.
Okay.
I'm hearing this because
Sure,
I'm not reading it off of anything. So I would say the one that just failed would have been the worst because it would have given you a criminal record. If you had been caught, it'd been a misdemeanor, and you'd have been fined for trespassing.
If the new vote is about fair democracy, as many people tell me, why did the first ordinance pass by only one vote for 61 days, and then there was a re-vote taken for the entire time? No re-vote.
I don't know. To be honest with you, Quintin, the first one passed. It went 61 days, and in fact, he let it expire before we even vote on it again. So at one point, we had no ordinance already until we were able to have this latest one. Through the emergency meeting. So at one point, we went a couple of days without any ordinance, and nobody said a word. So I don't know. I'm just ready to have this meeting again. Hopefully, we'll have new data. Hopefully, we'll be able to come to terms on it and do what's best for the community.
Putting the masks aside, will the town ever have will they initiate or even try to, in your mind, secure some sort of money or funding for COVID testing?
I'll have to defer that to the medical experts. It's like the flu. I got a flu shot, and maybe it's going to end up being that we get, I got a shingles shot as well. So it may be that there'll be a shot for that a vaccine that will help us for that.
Okay.
I'm an optimist, so I'm hoping that there will be something that we can do to not worry about this anymore. But like I said, it'll be up to the medical experts to tell us what we should do. But I certainly get both of those shots every year, and I try and follow the guidelines. As I say, I wear my mask everywhere I go, and I think majority of the people do that. They're going to do it. They don't want to be sick. They don't want their kids sick. They don't want to make anybody sick. I think they're responsible, and they'll do what they're supposed to do. And I think the same thing will happen when they get a vaccine, from the COVID virus, and I think they'll do the same thing.
Gary Santos, thank you so much for your time, and again, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Absolutely. Love to be here, man.
Thank you.